pull on that jersey, you represent yourself and your teammates. And a name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back. Get that through your head.
And here we go.
And it is no good. He missed it. Are you kidding me? The season can't end like that.
The playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Some goofball in a hat and a red shirt. Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs to the 50. He runs to the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms, bare-chested. Somebody stop that man.
Nobody ever tells me anything. Welcome to another edition of NETMA, another edition of the program. I'm your host, Tyler Paul. Happy Friday, everybody. Week 5 is just around the corner. We got a couple of tasty matches. We got to go through a lot of good games. And let's start with the first one. According to the folks at Jack's data, it's going to be a pickup. And we'll go right here shortly. This will run through everybody else. SFL Community, who you got is at 500. Two games above 500 with a very not good week last week. That puts me at 5-9. My record on picks. Best success so far is 3-1. All right, let's go ahead and give a pick 'em. That's the Revolution taking on Atlanta. And when you take a look at this matchup, everybody, it's a little bit in favor of the Revolution. Atlanta, besides the one victory against the Revs last season, has only beaten the Revolution one other time, that being the first ever meeting when these two teams played all the way back in season 11. That score being 10-6. That's the lowest scoring ball game in Rev history. That's back when they were, of course, the New Orleans Pharaohs. And Atlanta beat them 10-6 in the New Orleans days. So when you take a look at this game, we've talked about it, en masse this past week. And over the course of the season, it's been relatively noted that Dynasty and the rest of the Atlanta offense just look off. They look very melancholy, very, are they going to, or are they not going to? That's how we feel about the offense. Is Bryant Dynasty going to make a play, or is it just a case of other teams being good enough to beat Atlanta? Is Atlanta maybe closer to 6-6 than being a division favorite in this league at this point? I really don't hope that's the case, though, because I'm a division rival over there on the Revolution sideline. I would like it to be. I'd like it to be because the Swarm are finally coming back down to reality and not running over everybody with BDG and company, but I know that's not the case. So I think Atlanta's going to give us a run for our money. I think Atlanta's going to give the Revs run for the money. The defense is very formidable. That's the one thing keeping Atlanta in ball games. If it all comes down to the arm of Tommy Utah. We know that Colin Hart and Squarebush can make plays in the backfield, but all too often early on in the season, it's come down to the arm of Tommy Utah. If he can keep the ball in the hands of the blue and I got two blue and green teams. I can't use it in the hands of the Revolution, rather than the hands of the always potent Storm defense, then I think the Revs have a shot. It's a 50-50 ball game. I might be wrong. I might be right, but I'm backing my own team here in this one. Revs over Atlanta here in game number 1. Over to game number 2. It is Houston and the Lone Star Glory. Now, Lone Star have, early on in this season has shown everybody that they're here to compete. They've been up to the task. Houston, on the other hand, are more so the latecomers to the party this season. Only one victory, and both teams, have gone their separate ways. Lone Star, started out 2-1, 2 wins, 1 loss. One loss to being DC, who's now 4-0, and Houston, losing to DC week 1, losing to Baltimore week 2, so 2 very tough opponents, and then running over Queen City for the most part of that football game. Houston have a 6.5 point lead. I don't think, or has 6.5 point dogs, and I think that's enough for Lone Star to cover. Though I am saying this as Lone Star has never beaten, the Lone Star franchise has never beaten Houston in Houston. So I'm taking a massive gamble on saying that Lone Star is going to cover the spread. However, the offense looks very good. Houston's offense in that Queen City victory, though, looked really good. But if I'm looking at how both teams played up to this point, I think coming off a bye week, I think Lone Star will have a few more tricks up their sleeve. Houston, of course, will have more tricks up their sleeve as well. I think Lone Star, though, will have just enough to take maybe a touchdown or so advantage. All right, game number 2. This being a rematch of the semifinals in season 17, Baltimore and Mexico City. Baltimore, of course, the defending champions, came from behind, won that football game, eventually, of course, went on to win the championship. Mexico City, are all too familiar of how their defense can lose them games, especially when they play Baltimore. One thing that will have to be in mind is that both offenses are very good. Both offenses, of course, are very good. It just depends on the wishy-washiness of Mexico City and that defense. Are they going to be up to the task against Baltimore in Baltimore? It's a very tough place to play. Baltimore, there's no signs of them slowing down. Baltimore should have enough to control this football game, but because of the revenge factor, I'm picking Mexico City to cover this 8.5 point spread that Baltimore has been given by Jack's data. I think it will be a tidy affair, and I think it will come down to the fourth quarter. And though I do think Baltimore will win this football game, I think Mexico City will make it a tough contest for all involved. All right, on to game number 4, and that is Denver and St. Louis. And Denver has always been the home team in this matchup. This is going to be the 4th time that these two teams will have met up, and this is the 4th time that Denver has been the home team. I'm picking St. Louis to cover this 3.5 spread that they've got, because this St. Louis team is a different team than Denver has faced in their entire franchise history. The last time these two teams played was back in season 12, a long, long time ago. And that was back when St. Louis had yet to crack 500. They had always been a 4-8 team, a 2-10 team, a 3-9 team. They only cracked the 600 mark, or even made the 600 mark for that matter, in season 14, 2 years after they last played Denver. A lot of things have changed in the St. Louis locker room. A lot of personnel changes, a lot of player changes, multiple quarterbacks coming through St. Louis. And though I think Eric Price is going to have a good day, that defense for St. Louis is fantastic. In the past. That is the one thing that Denver has relied on. I don't expect St. Louis to completely neutralize Denver's air attack, but I expect Eric Price to have trouble. And I think it'll be just enough trouble for St. Louis to find the victory here in Denver. Hey, on to Monday's Valentine's slate of games, and it starts off with Fort Worth and London. And if we all hearken back to the SFL convention a year ago in Houston, this ball game came down to the wire. Within the last 30 seconds of that football game, Pickler marched down the field with the London Knights, and they kicked home the eventual game-winning field goal to beat Fort Worth on the road. And this time, Fort Worth comes on the road. And I think it's going to be another tight affair. The spread picks it. Both teams are winless. I think Fort Worth is in a most desperate situation. Going 0-5 and making the playoffs is a task that is nearly unheard of, even in this league. It is nearly unheard of to go 0-5 and make the playoffs. London, coming off their bye week, is going to be more prepared for Fort Worth than Fort Worth's prepared for London, though it's a very tight spread. I think London, should cover the spread and should score maybe a few more points. I think London at home in friendly confines and in London should have enough to take home the victory against Fort Worth. Okay, game number 6, Jacksonville and Carolina. And while doing some research, I was helped out again by Hunter Norwood over at Jack's Data and Premier Statistics. He pointed out that it has been at the time of at game time, so on Monday, it'll be exactly 2,003 days since the last time the Carolina Skyhawks have beaten a Jacksonville franchise club, that being the Tallahassee Pride. If you don't remember Tallahassee being a thing, or knowing that Tallahassee turned into Jacksonville at some point. But, oh boy, you have to go all the way back to season number 7 when Carolina beat Jacksonville on the road 20-17. That's the last time these two teams were celebrating a Carolina victory. As for the Kings, they have taken care of business since then. They've always have been playing Carolina in the last couple seasons. Now, of course, being in the same division, they play each other at least once. Carolina's offense is much more formidable than it has been in previous seasons. Carolina's offense has, roughly been around the back half of the statistic side of pretty much every category in the last few seasons. However, this season, things are looking up for Carolina. They're scoring points en masse. They're taking it to teams, and they've come out with a pretty nice record, a 2-2 record to start the season. They themselves have gone back and forth. They started on the back foot, losing to Vancouver, then beating San Diego. Florida, they had a few injuries, and they probably would have kept that game a little bit closer than the scoreline suggests with Florida, but they beat Portland the very next week. So this game will be tight. I think it'll be 3 points, not 2 points that decide this football game. And though I think Carolina will, is a fantastic team and all right, will have all to play for here in this football game, Jacksonville is on that bye week. And I've almost looked at every team in their bye week coming into this week. And I am really thinking that bye weeks are going to be very crucial in game planning for every team, right? The team that has to face them, if that team is not on a bye week, they are almost handicapped in a way, because every week you can change up your playbook so much. Well, you put a bye week in there, you just double that time, you double that preparation, you double everything. Jacksonville coming off a bye, Carolina's not. Jacksonville gets the win here, in my opinion. They will score more than 2.5 points, and that's who I'm picking here in game number 6. Final 2 games of the weekend, also coming on Monday night. Sioux Falls and Tulsa, and this is a surprising matchup where I think the majority of the community thought that neither team would be close to 500. We all thought that Sioux Falls was maybe struggling here and there. I mean, Tulsa won the draft, in my opinion, but we kind of figured there might be some hiccups to try and work through. But Tulsa on a good run of 2 back-to-back wins, and Sioux Falls have rattled off two very nice wins as well, beating St. Louis and Las Vegas. What needs to happen here for Sioux Falls to get more than 4.5 or 3.5 points and to cover the spread, in my opinion? Well, JQ is not one of the greatest quarterbacks when it comes to ball security. He is in the top 5 in terms of interceptions at the moment with 11. His completions are right up there, attempts, near the top. But the main difference between a young quarterback in Julian Tyree, who spent a lot of time in this league, is consistency. That's what we've seen from Julian Tyree over the course of the season. Is he's not giving the ball up a whole lot. He is finding receivers. He is controlling the pace of the game. And Sioux Falls, will have the advantage. They have the advantage in terms of their defense as well, a much more seasoned defense, even with some rotation here in the past off season. I think it'll be a nip and tuck affair, though I think Sioux Falls will find a touchdown or two more than Tulsa. But expect this one actually to be more of a high-scoring affair than a lot of people realize. All right, final game coming up. It's an infamous rivalry. I call it boats and planes. Everybody else calls it Portland versus San Diego. And San Diego is a team on a mission, right? They have beaten one of their division foes already in Los Angeles this 2 weeks ago. They went on their bye week, and enough time to game plan for Portland, who, in all intents and purposes, have not had the greatest season. 0-4 to start off regular season action, scoring no more than 27 points. That was against Jacksonville in week 1. Since then, it's been 21 or less. For Portland to find a win here in San Diego, they have to stop the air attack because they have the advantage when it comes to the ground game. They have last year's running back superstar Ezekiel Love. He again is in the top 5 in a bunch of categories. That includes yards, average yards per carry, and touchdowns. Get Ezekiel Love the rock because right now, O.J. Bruin he's okay. That's probably the best way I could say put O.J. Bruin in terms of the quarterback play for Portland. He is okay. They heavily rely on Ezekiel Love, and that's maybe the one part of San Diego's defense that is lacking here at this point. They aren't the greatest when it comes to defending the run. They are in the back half when it comes in terms of about average rush yards per game with about 108 allowed per game to opposing running backs. When it comes to more or less touchdowns, you're really not going to find any success in the air against the San Diego team. So if Portland want to win this football game, they have to control San Diego in the air, and they have to get Ezekiel Love going early and often, which they have found success going throughout the majority part of this football game, or majority part of the regular season. It's a tall order for Portland. Very tall order, trying to find their first win against a division rival who is hot. I expect them to cover. I expect Portland to cover because even though San Diego's coming off a bye, and that will significantly help their game planning, Portland has never lost to San Diego. They have played on 4 occasions dating back to when San Diego, came into the league a season after Portland in week 16. But Portland has always scored more than 10 points. 10 points or more against San Diego. So they know how to find ways to win against San Diego. Can they do it in season 17? Maybe. I'm going to say maybe because I think they're going to cover the spread. All right, my best bet of the week is probably going to be, I had it marked in somewhere, but I don't think the graphic came up. But my best bet is going to be that Fort Worth-London game for London to cover that spread because I think, again, week coming off a bye playing against an Owen, well, both teams are winless, of course. But London, I think, takes their first win because Pickler against Johnny Reno, I think I'll take Pickler all day long in the quarterback battle. So London versus Fort Worth is my best bet. Best bet number 5 here at season 17. Okay, got some announcements coming up that I'll be providing on the NETMA server Discord probably later this weekend, involving how a couple of the show pieces are going to work. But as far as everything else goes, go ahead and check out the NETMA server Discord down below if you want to get involved with the program. We'd love it if you'd go ahead and like and subscribe if you enjoyed the product. If you didn't like it, please leave it a dislike. I welcome criticism and would love to improve as much as I possibly can. So, all right, week 5 starts tomorrow. Hope to see all of you over there. And again, we've got a split day in between. No games Sunday, and we got games on Monday. So until then, everybody, we'll see you then. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.